Welcome to the Crypto Guild. I'm your host Rahul, and on this channel we talk everything crypto. So guys, today's video is going to be about Horde games. It is currently the #2 DeFi protocol right behind Strongblock, but data suggests that it'll probably become #1 soon. So what I wanted to do was have a look at some of the on-chain analytics for Horde and see what the project is really doing in real life. Like, is the project actually performing well? Everyone's talking about it and everyone's wondering whether they should invest. Now, while I can't make the investment decision for you, I think by looking at some of these analytics and how it's performing over the short and medium term, hopefully you can get some insights as to whether this investment is right for you or not. And as always do your own research and definitely check with a financial advisor if you have one. But this video should be a great starting point for you to answer the question, should you invest in Horde or not? If you do find the analysis useful, I would highly appreciate you liking and subscribing to this video and turning your bell notifications on so you know when the next video is gonna drop. It really helps the channel out, guys, and hopefully this content can reach even more people. Without wasting any more time, let's get started. Alright guys, let's just learn a little bit about Horde by reviewing their white paper, or what they call a souls paper, right? So here's the basics about the project. So in terms of an introduction, it's a rewards protocol, quite similar to other like NAAS and DAAS protocols. They offer like 1% returns a day alongside a P2E game, which has an NFT utility as well, right? And here's a scene from one of their NFTs. Second, you can basically use the Horde token to create plots, right? And you can also buy NFTs as well, but we'll put that NFT part, on the side for a second. Let's just stick to the basic understanding of the project. So essentially you can buy a plot, and these plots can be created using 10 Horde tokens, right? And they return a 1% per day, what I like to call ROT, not ROI. ROT stands for return on token, right? So you get about 0.1 Horde tokens on a daily basis. And then you're also going to have NFTs, as you know. So how does it work? So Horde essentially has a fixed supply of about 1.1 million tokens. Each plot that you buy, right, has a decay date, right? It gets overrun by zombies within about 300 days. And it also gives you an ROT, not ROI, of 300%, right? So which means if you put in like 10 Horde tokens, right, at the end of 300 days, you will have 30 Horde tokens, and then your plot will get overrun by zombies and it will essentially expire, right? So what happens with your money once you give it to the protocol? Well, the protocol takes 6 of your Horde tokens and puts it back into the rewards pool, right? They also have a feeless ecosystem, by which they mean that there are no explicit fees for participating in this protocol, except a 10% sales tax, right? And this protocol is built on the Binance Smart Chain, right? So it has very low transaction or gas fees, right? Going back to what happens with your Horde tokens, so as you guys know, 6 kind of goes into the rewards pool. 2 of them go into the treasury, right? And so the treasury is going to be used for investing in other projects and hopefully making a return. And then the last 2 of your 10 tokens will essentially be going to the team, and a portion of it will be allocated towards marketing, right? Now, the Horde protocol is also deployed using a multi-sig wallet, which means a bunch of people need to sign off on any transaction related to that wallet. So it's not like if you have one rogue developer who decides to run away with everyone's money. That can't really happen over here. And the founders of the project have been KYC'd by Assure, and I think a CertiK audit, if I remember correctly, it's already actually done. And then the last thing I'll say about Horde here, this #9, is what makes Horde truly unique is that it's a range-bound protocol. So what it does is it keeps the price of the Horde token within a particular range, right? So they started off at a particular range, and currently that range is anywhere between $99 for one token all the way up to $112, right? So that's the range they maintain, and they're going to keep it in this range so that it's affordable for everyone. So 10 Horde tokens, if you assume just an average of $100 per token, you're spending about $1,000 to get a plot. Now, if you look at the tokenomics here, it can look pretty complex, right? But it's actually not that complex once you break it down. Essentially, you're going to be giving BUSD, right, to the liquidity pool, and in exchange of your BUSD, you're going to get Horde tokens, right? So here, the user, you're going to create a new plot with those 10 tokens, and they're going to go 6 into the reward pool, so $600. 20 into the 20% into the treasury, so that's $200 worth goes into the treasury, and then 20% or $200 goes into the Horde pool, which essentially means the team, talent, innovation, marketing, right? And then the other part I'd call out, or that you kind of need to pay attention to, is the Liquidity Manager. So this is the thing that keeps the price of the Horde token within a particular range, right? So when it looks to drop below the range, like below $99, it quickly buys up more tokens, so it increases the price. And when it goes above the range of 112, it sells tokens and it decreases the price, right? So, and yeah, that's the basics of the Horde, sort of what they're generally about. It's like a rewards protocol. But let's now look at, based on some on-chain analytics, let's look at what is going on with Horde in the short, medium, and long term. All right, guys, time for the much-awaited on-chain analytics. So let's dig into Horde games. So first up, guys, let's look at weekly plot creation, right? So what you're seeing over here on the screen is the sort of trajectory or the plots that have been created from week 1, starting in 22nd March, all the way through week 16, which ends on 12th of July, right? So these are the plots, runes, and stones created over that period of time. Now you'll be able to see that the maximum number of plots were created in week 1 during the pre-sale. So that's not very surprising, is it? 3,033. But what you're generally seeing is that the number of plots are increasing over time, right? And fractional plots, meaning runes and stones, were introduced in week 12, and obviously more runes have been created than stones, and this is probably because the runes are cheaper to get into. It only costs $100 or one Horde token. So at the end of July 12th, week 16, we have 12,785 plots, 230 stones, and 1,289 runes. Next, let's look at the overall inflows and outflows from buys and sells in Horde. And we're looking at this over the weekly basis. So same timeline, week 1 through week 16. What you're going to see is that degens are continuing to buy into Horde, although the amounts vary sort of week on week, right? And the highest buys were during the pre-sale, almost $2 million right here. Now, if you look at the sells, you'll see that the sells are also somewhat happening on a regular basis. And in general, you'll see an uptrend, right? From week 2 through week 16, you're generally going to see an uptrend in sells. Now, week 1 has a large amount of sells because people were trying to do price arbitrage, right, during the pre-sale time. But essentially, we have buys and we have sells. So if you look at the net buys and sells, meaning when you subtract the sells from the buys on a weekly basis, again, you're going to see that overall the buys exceed the sells every week except week number 9, and I'd say week 15 was like pretty flat. So overall, the takeaway here is, based on these 3 charts, money is still flowing into the Horde ecosystem. Sorry. Next, let's look at the Liquidity Manager. So the Liquidity Manager is what maintains the price peg of the Horde token, so it keeps it between $99 and $112. So this is the progression of the Liquidity Manager from week 1 through 16. So you'll see that during the pre-sale, the earlier periods, the Liquidity Manager was growing, generally speaking, but then we saw a decline from week 5 all the way through week number 9. And in week number 9, it was flat for a couple of weeks, and now it's back on a growth trajectory. So what you guys need to know is the team did make some adjustments here in week 13 and in week 15 to redirect some of the plot creation funds, right? So as of now, 6 Horde, for every 10 Horde tokens that are used to create a new plot, 6 will go to the rewards pool, 3 will go to the liquidity manager, and 1 will go to the team. So essentially the liquidity manager is back on a growth trajectory after adjustments. Cool. Now this is an interesting kind of chart. So here we're going to look at the liquidity manager versus the sell pressure. So you're going to see 3 bars over here for every week. So the blue bar represents the balance of the liquidity manager itself. The red bar represents the current sell pressure, right? And the orange bar represents the maximum possible sell pressure, right? Now again, ignore week 1 because a lot of people were doing price arbitrage. So start from week 2. But here what you're going to see is this is the maximum amount that could have been sold for week 2, and the red bar indicates how much was sold. And you'll see this is generally on an increasing trend, which is to say that up till week 8, you generally had people selling as much as they possibly could, almost 100%. We got pretty close to 100% of the maximum sales you could do based on the rewards and plots, right? But you've noticed from week 8 onwards, this has come down. The red bar is now moved away from the orange bar. So this is to say that even though this is how much people could sell, this is the red bar indicates how much they're currently selling. So we're currently at about 56% here. As of week 16, we're at 56% of the maximum sell possible, right? Now, the one thing you will kind of look at this chart and kind of conclude is that the Horde project does require fairly regular inflows, right? So what I mean by that is when new plots are created, when you have profits from the liquidity management as a service, when you have profits from treasury investments, those are all needed on a fairly regular basis to offset the current sell pressure, right? And if you look at where we are as of week 16, there's over 850,000 worth of rewards that can be redeemed, right? So that represents this orange bar over here, right? Which is about 3.4 million a month. Now, you know, guys, that the liquidity manager currently only has 1.7 million. The treasury has about, I think 1.5 million or something. So essentially, we do need new funds coming in every month to offset this particular sell pressure. And the sell pressure is only going to continue to grow as the plots increase, right? As the number of plots increase, because that means more rewards on a daily basis that are being, given out. And so that's the story. So that's a very important point for you guys to understand, that definitely the project, while it's doing all right now, it definitely needs inflow of funds through one of these processes. And if you look at what we call the doomsday scenarios, it's a scenario where let's say all the existing plot owners redeemed all the plot rewards that they accrued on a daily basis, and they sold those for cash, for BUSD. And let's say no new people came into the system, so no additional plots are being created, and everyone is just selling their plot reward. Yeah, so in that case, what would happen is the liquidity manager would only be able to support the price peg for 13 to 16 days, approximately. So that's the time in which new funds need to come into the project, because if they don't and everyone keeps redeeming, we'll essentially, the liquidity manager will run out and the project would potentially lose its peg. All right, next, let's look at the health of the treasury. So what you're seeing over here is, again, the same timeline, week 1 through to week 12. What you're seeing is all the inflows into the treasury. So you can see it's happening, on a regular basis, but the inflows do decrease after about towards the end of April, beginning of May. And all these big sort of lines you see going towards the bottom of the screen, those are representative of funds that have been taken out of the treasury by the team for the purposes of investment. So you can see they've done a good 7-8 times they've taken funds out of the treasury. Another interesting thing is that you see that the treasury kind of stops growing over here. So it kind of stops by June 13th, which is week 12, right? So The reason this happened is because the team has adjusted the distribution of plot creation funds, and they've moved them away from the treasury and have currently kept them or redirected them towards the liquidity manager, right? So this is to manage the bear market. So the treasury currently has about $418,000 as of July 12th, and about 1.1 million have been invested. All right, so let's just summarize what we've seen so far in our analysis. So from a plots perspective, we're seeing that plots are being created every week, and while the amount of plots created is variable, the on-chain data generally shows an uptrend in plot creation. Now, in terms of the overall buys and sells of the Horde token, so the buys have outpaced the sells every week except one. And the sells, unfortunately, continue to rise as the number of plots increase, right? But that is to be expected, right? You got more plots, so more rewards to be redeemed, and so you're going to see an increase over time. Now, the liquidity manager is definitely on a growth trajectory, and this is primarily due to the reallocation of funds during the bear market. But I'll just reiterate this point: the project does require fairly regular inflows. So whether those inflows come from plot creations, from profits from the liquidity management as a service, whether they come from the treasury investments or from the sell tax, whatever it is, they are definitely needed at this stage to maintain the price peg. And of course, if we have our doomsday scenario, which is where if all existing plot owners redeem their rewards daily and no additional plots were created and no new people stepped into the ecosystem, the liquidity manager could essentially support the price peg for 13 to 16 days. So new money coming into the system from one of these different sources is sort of a prerequisite for the project to continue along in a healthy way. And then from a treasury perspective, the treasury has accumulated $1.5 million over 16 weeks, of which 1.1 million has been invested and 418,000 is yet to be deployed. But keep in mind that since June 13th, which is week 12, the team has redirected plot creation funds towards the liquidity manager instead to maintain the price peg during the bear market, which means that the treasury has not been receiving or has not been growing with any new funds since that time, right? And that's definitely going to have some longer term ramifications, which I'll speak about in the longer term analysis of the Horde project. But this analysis took quite a while, guys, so I'm going to cut the video off here and sort of just answer one last key question for the short and medium term, and then perhaps make another video for the long term. So am I going to invest in Horde? So in full disclosure, I did experiment with Horde during the pre-sale, so I did invest money for one plot, which at the time was about $500. But from everything I'm seeing in terms of the sentiment on social media, the number of users joining and trusting the ecosystem, as evidenced by and I do see that there's less sell pressure compared to the maximum sell pressure possible in the project, which happened after week 9. The team does roll out new features pretty regularly, and they're pretty transparent and open with regular AMAs as well. So in terms of my read on this situation, I think for the short term, for a 3-month period, I have a pretty high confidence that Horde will maintain its price peg, so I am definitely bullish. If we extend that out for like another 3 months, so we look at it kind of in the medium term of 6 months, I'm still fairly confident that Horde will maintain its price peg. So I'm bullish there as well. But keep in mind, guys, these are just my opinions, and I'm definitely not a financial advisor. I'm actually just some dude on the internet trying to figure out DeFi's just like the rest of you as well, right? So always, always, always do your own research. There should be no exceptions to this rule, and I wish you guys good luck. And as always, thank you so much for watching the channel. Please do like and subscribe, and until next time, guys, thank you and peace.